today. The multiplayer-only game was first seen at the tail end of the 90s, most notably with Quake 3 Arena. Now, the big problem with multiplayer-only games is the fact that they're multiplayer-only and have no single-player campaign. And the problem with this is, developers expect to get paid full price for these particular games, even though they only have a fraction of the content they need. Now, on Steam, you don't have to pay full price for these games. On Steam, they're actually priced reasonably. There are many multiplayer-only games on Steam, and they usually are of at least middling quality. But the game we're taking a look at today is a multiplayer-only game of great justice indeed. Today, we're taking a look at Dead by Daylight, a game that does not charge full price for its bloody content, and is instead only $20. Now, I first discovered this particular game on a Steam free weekend, and, well, I got hooked fairly quickly. So with that, let's jump into the game and take a look at it. Dead by Daylight is a multiplayer-only game that is, in many respects, a refinement of the Gmod game add-on Murder Town. Essentially, like in Murder Town, one player plays as a killer, and the other players, up to 4 in total, play the survivors. And the survivors must complete the objective of turning on generators and evading the killer. Unlike in Murder Town, there are big differences between the killer and the survivors. The killer is played from the first-person perspective, and yes, you can indeed see your lower body. And the survivors are played from the third-person view. And the developers have done a great job balancing the killer and the survivors. Neither one has a real concrete advantage over the other. The killer has a narrow field of view in comparison to the survivors, so it's easy to evade the killer by zigging and zagging out of his line of sight. The survivors also have the ability to hear the killer coming due to a heartbeat sound cue. The killer, of course, has his weapons, and they can do a considerable amount of damage, but even this is balanced by the fact that you cannot get numerous hits off in quick succession after each hit, as the killer must enter a rest state where he cleans the blood off of his weapon. The killers in this game, they are professionals. They always make sure their weapons are neat and clean, so that you, the victim, feel like you're the only person they killed that day. As the survivors, you have the objective of turning on generators. If you turn on enough generators, you can activate an exit. But even if you activate the exit, you must still open the exit, and that takes several nerve-wracking seconds. This is, of course, balanced by the fact that there are usually 2 exits available at any one time, so just activating the exit is not an instant death sentence. Activating the generators is a little difficult. They take a considerable amount of time to activate, and at intervening intervals, a QTE will pop up. If you mess up the QTE, the generator will explode a little bit and will show up on the killer's field of view. This, while annoying, is not that big of a deal, as once again, this is not an instant death sentence, as the killer needs to be looking at the messed up generator to know that someone was there. The survivors can also hide in cupboards scattered about the level as well. And you can find crates with various items that can help in survival. The killer's objectives are, as you would expect, kill the other players. This, however, is not as easy as it sounds. The game world is set up in such a way as to make finding the survivors difficult, and it takes several hits to down a survivor. Once a survivor is downed, you can then take him to a sacrificial altar. This is also not as easy as it sounds, as the survivor can wiggle his way out of your grasp, and once he is on an altar, he can still escape, or another survivor can help him down. The killer wins the game when all the survivors are dead. In short, both the killer and survivors are well balanced to one another, and skill is needed to survive and kill respectively. A noob survivor will be killed easily by an experienced killer, and a noob killer will easily be outmaneuvered by a skilled team of survivors. There are several killers and several survivors to choose from, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. There is even a level up mechanic where you can improve your lethality and survivability. The menu system for the game is well laid out, and you can easily set up a lobby as either a killer or a survivor. And you can easily just play with friends, and for the time being at least, the game seemed to be alive and well, and I found games rather quickly early in the day, and it took a little longer at night, but I usually still found games. However, one minor annoying aspect of Dead by Daylight is the fact that the Steam overlay doesn't bloody work. So somebody sending you an invite to a game is somewhat difficult to see because you have to alt-tab out and click on their invite. And sometimes when I alt-tabbed out, the game decided to crash. Graphically, the game looks like crap. I'm not gonna lie here, the graphics look like they're from 2010, and the texture work is really quite low quality. However, one must keep in mind that this is an indie game, and its gameplay more than makes up for any graphical deficiencies. And who knows, we might get an ultimate graphic update at some point. Performance-wise, the game runs okay. I have played worse indie games, and I've played worse AAA games. The game runs at a somewhat decent 30 FPS, which I find somewhat strange, as this is a PC game after all. But once again, the gameplay more than makes up for FPS deficiencies. What I find really weird though is the options menu, as it has this weird slider for screen resolution. Music for the game is decent enough, and if you have the Halloween DLC, you get to hear the excellent Halloween theme. Sound design is excellent all around, and it really does immerse you into the game world. While this game is not a technical masterpiece, its gameplay is really what makes it stand out from the pack of other games. And one must also keep in mind that this is a lower budgeted game. They're not charging $60 for this, they're charging $20. And so I can overlook a few graphical and FPS deficiencies. I highly recommend checking out Dead by Daylight, and as this review is going up close to the Steam Christmas sale, you can probably get it for just a couple of bucks. And it's very much a unique multiplayer experience, and well, whenever you get it around a good sale, you can definitely find a good proportion of experienced players and noobs. And so, I am GeneralLotz, wishing you good Friday the 13th, the game, and good Resident Evil 7, or whatever makes you happy. If you enjoyed my review of Dead by Daylight, please consider subscribing, and if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon so that I can continue bringing you these great horror game reviews.